Hello and welcome to our webinar on Pearson and accessibility. My name is Terry Austin, faculty advisor, and I'll be your moderator for the day. Let's get started. Here at Pearson, we have a commitment to support every learner. Our goal is to make sure people progress through their lives as they learn and continue to be fulfilled when our educational materials are truly accessible to all our users. And our commitment is accessibility and achievement going hand in hand. We are absolutely committed to enabling accessibility for people with disabilities as part of the fabric of our learning materials, developmental processes, innovating efforts, and employee culture. Our goal is to ensure that all students can learn from our products and to demonstrate that learning. There are several links available, and we can make these links available once this meeting is done. The disability support team at disability.support@pearson.com. We have alternate text files available for qualified students, and we'll discuss that qualification a bit later on in the program. Those are available at no added cost. There is a disability request form. Most schools' disability offices are going to have this already, but we can make that available. There's also an online accessibility store, which we'll be looking at a little bit later. PPATs and accessibility conformance and remediation forms are also available for many, if not all of our products. And we also have accessibility updates available on request. And we're going to move on into the program now by a first look at exactly what is accessibility. You might actually be a little bit off on your understanding on this, and let's clear that up. Disabilities are diverse. I think what many people think of when they hear disabilities and accessibility are the video's closed captions, and that certainly is an important part, but there are more pieces to this than simply that. So let's begin by looking at the diversity of disabilities. One disability type is visual. An individual may have blindness, low vision, color blindness. All of those would fall under a visual disability. Auditory, deafness and hard of hearing. This one's near and dear to my heart. I happen to be hard of hearing and I wear hearing aids, so those issues certainly are always at the focus of my mind. Motor disabilities. Some individuals have problems using a mouse, slow response time, and perhaps limited fine motor control. All of these are disabilities, as are cognitive disabilities. They're learning disabilities. Students may be distractible. They may have trouble remembering and focusing on large amounts of information. In addition, disabilities are varied. They may be acquired. It may be something someone picked up, like my own hearing issues. They may be congenital. They may be temporary, only with the individual for a short time, or they may be permanent. They may be visible or invisible, and that's possibly one of the more insidious pieces to this. Is quite often you'll hear the phrase that someone simply doesn't look disabled. That's just not a stance we can take in this day and age. Singular or multiple. Some individuals have more than one of these disabilities, and they can be either temporary or permanent along the way. And then disabilities may be moderate or acute. For myself, my hearing is a moderate disability. Anyway, those are some of the variations you might find among disabilities. Move on to what is accessibility. If I'm giving you a breakdown today of accessibility at Pearson, we need to understand exactly what that means. Accessibility is the designing of products, devices, and services, or even environments in order to help accommodate people with disabilities. Pearson's investment in accessible product design and remediation is significant and ongoing. We also need to be aware that accessibility is different than a few things. ADA, this is the Americans for Disabilities Act, and sometimes that's used as a synonym for accessibility, but it's not. The ADA is actually civil law, and it actually does not cover all aspects of digital accessibility. And at the same time, it actually in some ways covers more than digital accessibility. Also, accommodation, that's not accessibility. Accommodation is basically modifying existing systems or systems in development in order to accommodate the needs, to meet the needs of particular individuals or groups. So be careful as you look at the word accessibility and understand what it means and what it doesn't mean. Why does this matter? Higher educational institutes are actually required by law to provide equal access to education for students with disabilities. And college and universities, as well as in some cases, individual instructors can face lawsuits if they fail to provide equal access. So let's take a look at an acronym you may have heard: WCAG, 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 however you pronounce that, those are all correct, by the way, stands for Web Content Accessibility Guidelines. These are the standards that schools currently follow to ensure that their educational materials are accessible. Pearson materials are actually designed already to align with version 2.0 of the WCAG standards, and we're actually rolling out support for version 2.1 as I speak. Now, disabilities vary from person to person, as I'm sure you understand. So individuals with disabilities access Pearson products in lots of different ways. Some examples here on the screen in these bubbles help individuals with assistive technology. That would be things like screen readers like JAWS, NVDA, and VoiceOver, text-to-speech tools like Kurzweil, Read and Write Gold, and Pearson actually test our courseware against these popular types of assistive technologies and more. Now, products and accessibility. In order for a product to be accessible, we have to have both the technology and its content accessible. So let's use closed captions as an example. The technology we might consider is the product that has the ability to allow closed captions. Again, using closed captions as our example. Then the content. Those closed captions have to be created and added. And before I show the rest of this slide, I want to take a little bit of an aside. I'm actually broadcasting this in the middle of our pandemic, and I would like to caution you as an instructor, if you are indeed making your own lecture videos right now, you need to make an effort to make sure that your lecture videos you may be producing now are indeed accessible. Whether we're in a pandemic or not, you have or may have students who have disabilities that need to be addressed. And ignoring those is not a great idea at any time, certainly not even during a pandemic. So these are our examples. Technology has to support captions, and then the captions have to be created. Let's look at our actual example here. Technology from Pearson. Examples would include MyLab, Mastering, Revel, and eText. And some content examples would include Mastering, maybe Campbell Biology, or Tro's Chemistry, or Blitzer's Algebra. These, by the way, all are already supporting accessibility. So the content has to be created, and the platform needs to support the accessibility features like closed captioning. Print disability. Print disabilities sometimes are required for individuals who have blindness or low vision, a physical disability, perhaps a student who's got limited motor skills who can't turn a page, and learning disabilities. Now, an important piece to realize is that when a student has a print disability, they need to register with their campus accessibility disability office. Different campuses call this office different things. It may be accessibility, it may be disability, but the key thing here is students have to register. An individual student can't reach out to Pearson on their own in many cases and simply get what they need. Let's say they bought a textbook and they need an accessibility feature for that. We'll get to that in a minute. They actually can address things completely on their own in another way. But if they are registered with their campus accessibility disability office, then that office can request an alternate format text at no additional charge. So alt text format request, there are several links on the right. Those can be made available for you later on, but students actually can now instantly purchase fully accessible digital textbooks for select Pearson titles. And this gives them affordable, faster, and more efficient access to the learning materials without even having to buy a paper textbook ahead of time. More information is available at links here for students, for campus accessibility professionals, and for educators. Alternate text files for other Pearson titles are also available for students who qualify and register with those school offices at no extra costs. And thank you for that. Students who purchase instant access through the resources I mentioned just a minute ago actually have access to approximately 500 Pearson titles directly without ever having to buy a print book. Those e-textbooks are offered through VitalSource Bookshelf Reader. VitalSource Bookshelf Reader aligns with WCAG 2.0 AA standards. All text descriptions for images and figures exist already in these books. They are readable with screen readers. They're readable with refreshable Braille displays. They include built-in self-voicing text-to-speech features. They provide online and offline access, so students using these don't necessarily even have to be connected to the internet. These are available on computers and mobile devices, both iOS and Android. This would be the site where students could actually directly purchase e-texts that are accessible. That site at the bottom is pearson-accessible-store.vitalsource.com. We actually provide clear, up-to-date, straightforward statements on the accessibility of our products. VPATs and accessible confirmation and remediation forms are available on a request for our products. And for many products, we actually have self-discipline or discipline-specific accessible status documents written for instructors or anybody else for that matter who's looking for an overview. These documents are organized by product, and they're accessible by your local rep or at the Pearson Disability site that was previously mentioned. Now, again, that accessibility site, www.pearson.com/US/accessibility, looks like this. Hop on over, take a look, and have a nice tour. And let's now take a look at accessibility within mastering, which I think may be why many of you are listening and watching this. Mastering actually is a glorious platform providing support for science and engineering students with or without disabilities. It gives them great guidance to help them learn problem-solving skills in these disciplines, aside from the accessibility features are there. Mastering has had millions of student hours interactions going on over the years, and by design, Mastering is an intelligent-based online homework system that actually gets smarter every time students engage with the questions inside Mastering. Pearson uses data gathered from all of the students using the Mastering platform, and Mastering products actually get better as they get used. So Mastering products provide unmatched content and coaching to help science and engineering students learn and answer complex problems regardless of any disability they might be dealing with. Students can access Mastering assignments and complete these assignments and check on their scores using screen readers and keyboard navigation. And one thing I love about this, users don't have to turn any accessibility modes on. This actually happens automatically for the student. The Mastering interface works beautifully and seamlessly with common screen magnifying software, and it is visually contrast optimized for vision impaired students for most of the features that are already in Mastering. Most Mastering questions can also be navigated with a keyboard and a screen reader. The goal, as these products are designed, is to make content accessible. We actually continue to increase the number of accessible questions as new products or new features are evolved. So ongoing improvements and refinements to mastering are already aligning things like graphing questions to WCAG 2.0 standards. Those are already underway. Instructors can actually find accessible assignments by using the instructions on the help page. And again, the link is available should you like that. Dynamic response feedback like correct, wrong, try again request actually gives students the ability to improve their learning as they answer. And as you see here on the bottom right, we have some answer specific, this is wrong, answer specific feedback. So that particular wrong choice gave that particular feedback. It would be different for different, and these are able to be navigated with keyboard and screen reader. Videos. Mastering videos are navigable with screen readers and keyboards, and they're all closed captions. Video transcripts are available on request. Audio descriptions are in development for future release videos. We also have other rich media, and since 2014, all new rich media developed for mastering items is developed with accessibility standards in mind. We do have hundreds of mastering legacy items and many popular animations, videos, and interactive content items that might have previously been done on a format like Flash have been or are being converted to accessible video and HTML5 formats. So lots of content that instructors might have loved in past years are being made accessible. Answer types, as we have a nice little animation playing here, you can see lots of answer types are available and accessible. Things like essay writing, labeling, matching vocabulary, multiple choice, multiple select, ranking, simple text, and sorting all are accessible. If we move on into math, chemistry, and physics, where things can get more specific and more picky, chemical formula type questions, numeric and symbolic answers, and vector answers also accessible. eText. I absolutely love Pearson's eText, and all the mastering courses that have a copyright of 2017 or later include an eText in the format that we call Pearson eText. This platform can be accessed easily with a screen reader and is keyboard navigable. Lots of Pearson eText already have alt text for images, and all copyright year 2018 to 2020 titles will include alt text. More about alt text in a moment. Now, there are also support pages for educators and students. This would be the educator support page, accessibility information right there. And on the student site, accessibility information right there. So if you come to the mastering portal, which you can get to with pearson.com/mastering, you're going to find these support pages there for both student and instructor. Now, I do want to give you a caution. Pearson gives you the ability to create your own questions. It's quite powerful, and it is really a great way to customize things. But should you edit questions that exist already or write your own, you really truly should remember to add alt text for any images that you might paste in. Please use any videos that are captioned, whether that's a video or possibly a GIF, and then consider formatting fonts for easy readability, including ideas like high contrast. Now, PowerPoint slides. Of course, we provide PowerPoint slides for Pearson textbooks, and those PowerPoint slides are accessible for most of the titles. If you look at PowerPoint file names, they actually indicate accessibility, and you can contact disability support at the address on the bottom of the screen to find out whether a particular book title offers accessible PowerPoint slides. Most of them at this point do, but you can double check to be sure. You can also learn what our accessibility slides include, and you can actually please notify us about slides that should be accessible but seem to have issues. We absolutely care about finding those out. Now, you personally, if you're making your own slides, can also add alt text. So not just Pearson slides, you can also take a responsibility as well when you make a slide in 2 easy steps. If you right-click on an image, whether you're using Keynote or perhaps, sorry, whether you're using PowerPoint or perhaps Apple Keynote. Can you tell I'm an Apple guy and a little bit biased? Right click on an image and there is a menu item there called Edit Alt Text. When you open that, it gives you this window where you can see what text is there, which would be editable, or if there is no alt text there at this point, you can actually put in a description. I like this one. Look at the picture on the left while I read what's on the right. Divisions of the skeletal system. Diagram A shows an anterior view, and diagram B shows a posterior view. Anterior view shows components of the axial skeleton, the skull vertebral column. I don't need to read the whole thing, but what I want you to understand there is these alt text descriptions tend to be, if you've not looked at them before, pretty darn detailed. Consider a student who has a visual disability and is counting on a screen reader to tell him these things or her these things. You need to understand that the alt text should be quite descriptive. Let me give you some more resources. Learning the basics with real connections. This link actually gets you a video to read and a brochure which goes over basic guidelines for designing courses to more fully include all of your students. The Texas Institute for the Blind. These folks have some awesome training and information, things like talking calculators, raised graphing papers, resources for the blind, resources for the dyslexic students. Texas Institute for the Blind is some great folks. I'm not saying that because I'm biased from the great state of Texas. 3Play Media, also a wonderful resource. This site has a great set of information about videos, and please pay attention to section 5.4 and 508 of the Rehabilitation Act to get more information about closed captioning and web requirements. Another site that's great is the Iowa State University. Lots of university accredited accessibility sites can give you some information, and the folks at Iowa State University do a great job for that. At this point, I would like to thank you for your time, and I hope you have a productive semester. Take care.